Tonight, the Arctic feels like a room with the lights turned low, soft, wide, and patient. Snow stretches out like a clean sheet, smoothed by wind that has learned to speak in whispers. The moon hangs above the tundra with a calm, steady glow, and the night air seems to hold its breath, not out of worry, just out of peaceful habit. Somewhere out there, a small fox belongs to this hush as naturally as a snowflake belongs to winter. The Arctic fox, sometimes called the white fox or snow fox, is a gentle little resident of the far north, living among Arctic tundra communities where the ground stays humble and the sky feels endless. It's a small animal in a very big landscape, and somehow that doesn't feel lonely. It feels balanced. If you listen closely, you can almost hear the quiet details, the faint rustle of dry grasses under snow, the distant sigh of wind over ice, the soft click of cold air settling into place. And there's something soothing about it, like nature is tidying up the world, not to impress anyone, just because it likes things calm. Soft humor, feather light. Even the snow seems unbothered tonight, falling like it has absolutely nowhere important to be. And honestly, that's a mood we can all borrow. Now let your shoulders soften, let your jaw unclench, let your thoughts loosen their grip and drift like fog across a quiet river. If your mind wanders, that's perfectly fine. Minds do that. They're curious little creatures. Tonight, we're just giving yours a warm, safe path to wander on. Fixed signature lines, unchanged. Welcome to sleepy nature sleep, where the wild grows soft and curiosity becomes calm. Tonight, let your thoughts follow the rhythm of the earth, your breathing settle like evening wind, and your mind wander gently through the quiet wild. If this place feels peaceful, you're always welcome back. No membership card required, only your presence. Think of it like a small, steady campfire in the night, familiar, calm, and always ready to share a little warmth. And if you'd like to support the channel, it helps us keep the nightlights low and the nature facts cozy. A gentle kind of support, like placing one more log on that quiet campfire and letting it glow. Now we'll drift closer into tonight's story, toward the tundra's pale horizon, toward the soft shapes the moon makes on the snow. We'll follow the Arctic fox at an unhurried pace, noticing the world the way it does, through stillness, through softness, through a kind of winter wisdom that doesn't rush. Take a slow breath in, and an even slower breath out. And let's begin. Out here, the tundra doesn't feel empty. It feels uncluttered, like a tabletop cleared for a quiet cup of tea. The sky is wide, the ground is pale, and everything that moves seems to do so with a kind of polite softness, like it's trying not to disturb the night. And when the Arctic fox appears in this calm, it doesn't arrive with drama. It simply belongs, a small, warm presence in a world that looks like it's made of moonlight and quiet. Tonight, I want to place one gentle question into the snow between us. Not a tricky one, not a puzzle, just something simple enough to hold like a smooth stone in your palm. Here it is. How does a small creature learn to feel at home in a place that feels so big? You don't have to answer it. You can just let it drift beside you, like a little lantern in fog, softly glowing, not demanding anything, Because the Arctic fox doesn't seem obsessed with answers either. It moves through its world as if it trusts the basics. Warmth matters, rest matters, and the night will be the night. Sometimes, when I imagine standing here, boots on snow, breath gently visible, I feel a quiet respect rise in my chest. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind that feels like your heart is nodding. The Arctic is beautiful, yes, but it's also honest. It doesn't pretend to be cozy. And yet the fox finds coziness anyway, in its own fox-sized way. Soft humor, barely a whisper. The tundra is not big on decorations. It's very minimal, very clean aesthetic. And the fox, somehow, is the perfect little accent piece, like a fluffy comma in a white sentence. As your breathing settles, you might notice your thoughts trying to organize themselves around this question. Home, small, big, quiet. If they float away, that's fine. Let them float. We're not chasing anything tonight. We're simply noticing. Maybe home isn't always a place with walls. Maybe it's a rhythm, a routine, a familiar hush, a body that knows how to soften, a mind that learns to stop gripping the day so tightly. So we'll keep this question with us as we drift forward. How does a small creature learn to feel at home in a place that feels so big? And in the next moments, we'll let the Arctic fox show us, slowly, gently, through the simple poetry of living. Warm fur, quiet pause, and the patient intelligence of being calm in the cold. The Arctic tundra spreads out like a soft blanket that forgot to add bright colors. It's mostly whites and pale blues, with a few muted browns and gentle greens peeking through where the snow thins. The land sits low and open, with small shrubs that keep close to the ground, as if they've learned that being humble is a perfectly good survival strategy. The air feels crisp, clean, and strangely soothing, like breathing in a quiet thought. Wind moves across the tundra in long, slow sentences. Sometimes it pauses. Sometimes it sighs. Sometimes it smooths the snow into ripples that look like frozen waves. If you listen closely, the soundscape is simple. A faint hush of wind, the occasional soft tick of ice settling, maybe a distant bird call that feels more like a note in the background than a headline. The tundra has a few rules, but they're gentle ones. The ground can be firm with permafrost beneath, meaning the deeper soil stays frozen for long stretches of the year. Plants adapt by growing shallow and steady. Mosses, lichens, sedges, and hardy little flowers that appear when the season allows. Nothing here seems in a rush. Even growth feels like it's happening at a thoughtful pace. Light behaves differently too. In some seasons, the sun lingers like a guest who doesn't check the time. In other seasons, darkness arrives early and stays, soft and long, like a quiet blanket pulled up to the chin. And under these shifting rhythms, the Arctic fox carries on with calm consistency, as if it has a personal agreement with the sky. Soft humor, gentle as a wink. The tundra doesn't do busy. If the tundra had a calendar, most days would simply be labeled snowy, still, and honestly. Pretty nice. Standing here in your imagination, you might feel something tender in your chest, like awe, but quieter. The kind of awe that doesn't need to speak. The kind that simply watches. This is the world our story lives inside. Wide space, simple sounds, slow light, and small life forms that are very good at being exactly what they are. And that's the mood we'll carry forward. No sharp edges, no rushing, just gentle noticing. Because in a place like this, even curiosity feels calmer. It doesn't sprint, it strolls, it looks around, it breathes. And somewhere in that calm, a white fox moves through the tundra like a soft thought, almost blending in with the night, almost becoming part of the scenery, except for the warm, quiet sense that it is wonderfully alive. At first, you might not see the Arctic fox at all. The snow holds the same pale glow as its winter coat, and the moonlight makes everything look softly blended, like a watercolor painting left out in the cold air to dry. Then, slowly, a shape separates from the background. A small figure, rounded ears, a face that looks like it was designed to be gently curious. The Arctic fox doesn't seem to announce itself. It simply appears, as if the tundra quietly decided to reveal one of its little secrets. One of the most soothing things about the Arctic fox is how perfectly it fits its environment. Its body is compact, small, warm, and neatly proportioned. In cold places, a compact shape helps hold onto warmth, like a teacup that keeps heat better than a shallow plate. The fox's fur is famously thick, and in winter it often turns bright white, matching the snow so well that it can look like a drifting snowball with opinions. Soft humor, cozy, and kind. If winter had a dress code, the Arctic fox would be the one who shows up perfectly coordinated, without even trying. Its tail, big, fluffy, and wonderfully soft-looking, often rests close to the body like a built-in scarf. And if you imagine the fox settling down, curling into itself, you can almost feel the comfort of it. It's like watching someone wrap up in a blanket with the quiet confidence of a professional napper. The Arctic tundra, despite its open space, offers little pockets of shelter. Low dips in the land, snowbanks shaped by wind, small ridges where the air feels slightly calmer. The fox moves through these places with a gentle attentiveness, not tense, not hurried, just aware, like a careful listener in a quiet room. If you were standing there, safe, warm, and only observing, you might feel a soft smile form without effort. There's something heartwarming about seeing life continue in such a simple way. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady. And as the fox pauses, head slightly tilted, ears relaxed, you might notice your own breath matching the rhythm of the scene, in and out, like wind settling into snow. In the Arctic fox's calm presence, our earlier question lingers quietly. How does a small creature feel at home in a place so big? Maybe it begins like this, by blending, by resting, by letting the wide world be wide, while staying softly, warmly itself. If you could gently zoom in on the Arctic fox, like a camera drifting closer without disturbing the scene, you'd notice details that feel almost like little love letters from nature to comfort. Start with the paws. Arctic foxes have fur on their paw pads, which acts like a cozy layer between them and the cold ground. It's like wearing slippers made by winter itself, soft, practical, and perfectly on theme. That extra fur can help with insulation, and it can make moving over snow feel steadier, like the fox is walking on a gentle cushion rather than bare ice. Soft humor, barely there. If the tundra had a no shoes, no service policy, the Arctic fox would be fine. It brought its own carpet. And then there's the fur, thick, dense, and designed for quiet warmth. In winter, the white coat blends into snow, turning the fox into a small, drifting cloud with ears. In other seasons, the coat can shift toward browns and grays, like the fox is politely changing outfits to match the tundra's mood. But what feels most calming is not just the biology, it's the vibe of it. The fox doesn't seem anxious about the weather. It doesn't appear to argue with the cold. It simply lives alongside it, as if it has accepted the tundra's way of being. The ears are smaller than you might expect for a fox, which can help reduce heat loss. The muzzle is neat and fox-like, but not overly long. The whole body seems shaped for keeping warmth close, like the fox is a walking lesson in staying gathered and contained. Watching this, you might feel a gentle sense of admiration, not the loud, cheering kind, more like a quiet feeling that settles into your chest. You are doing a good job, little fox. And maybe, in a strange way, that feeling can include you too, because there's something soothing about adaptation, about small adjustments, about the idea that comfort doesn't always come from changing the world. Sometimes it comes from changing how you rest inside it. So as you breathe, imagine borrowing a little Arctic fox wisdom. Pull the warmth close. Let the outside be the outside. Stay soft on the inside. The fox pads along, light and quiet, as if it understands that the tundra is a place for listening. And in that listening, the night becomes gentler, and your mind can become gentler too. In a place as open as the tundra, the idea of home can feel surprisingly subtle. It isn't always a visible thing, like a cabin with a chimney. Sometimes it's a sheltered dip in the snow. Sometimes it's a familiar path across the landscape. Sometimes it's a den, quiet, tucked away, and shaped by time and routine. Arctic foxes often use dens, and some dens can be used across years, like a long-term address in a world where the weather redecorates constantly. The den can be dug into soil where possible, or into banks and slopes, creating a space that feels calmer than the open wind. And even imagining that space, dark, insulated, still, can make your own eyelids feel heavier in a pleasant way. Inside a den, the world becomes quieter. The wind fades into a muffled hush. The bright snowlight turns to soft darkness. The fox can rest there, and the tundra doesn't demand anything. It simply continues being tundra outside, while the little den holds a pocket of comfort within it. Soft humor, lullaby-like. The den is basically the fox's version of do not disturb, except it doesn't need a sign. The snow already gets the message. The Arctic fox's life is often guided by the slow rhythm of seasons. When food is available, small animals, birds, eggs, berries, and other tidbits the land offers, the fox may carry some of it away to save for later. Not in a dramatic way, more like a quiet, practical habit. Like putting a snack in your bag and then forgetting about it until you're very pleased with your past self. And as we imagine the fox returning to a familiar den, something soft happens in the mind. Because familiarity is calming, returning is calming. There's a tenderness in routines that repeat gently. A path, a shelter, a quiet corner where the body can loosen. If you were standing nearby in your imagination, just observing with warmth, you might feel a small emotional glow. that comforting sense that even in wide, cold places, life finds little rooms of safety. So our question from earlier returns, quietly, how does a small creature feel at home in a place so big? Maybe the answer is simple. It gathers comfort in small ways. It learns its landmarks. It makes a pocket of stillness, and then it rests. Out on the tundra, the night doesn't offer many distractions. No crowded streets of sound, no busy layers of noise. Just the slow hush of wind, the soft creak of snow shifting, and the occasional distant call that seems to float rather than travel. In a quiet place like this, the Arctic fox becomes a kind of gentle listener. Its ears, small and neatly shaped, seem tuned to subtle details, tiny movements beneath snow, faint rustles in grasses, the quiet signals of life moving softly through the cold. But even more than ears, it's the fox's sense of smell that feels like a secret superpower. In the Arctic, scents can be faint, but they carry stories. Where something passed, what it touched, what kind of day it had. A smell can be a little message left on the air. You can imagine the fox pausing, lifting its nose slightly, and letting the wind place information into its senses like a slow delivery service. It doesn't look frantic. It looks focused, but calm, like someone reading a book they've read before and still enjoy. Soft humor, warm and light. The fox doesn't doom scroll, it just nose scrolls. Very mindful, very, I'm just checking the tundra updates. And there's something soothing about that, about gathering what you need from the world without letting it overwhelm you. The fox doesn't appear to take in too much at once. It simply samples the air, listens to the quiet, and moves on when it's ready. If you picture yourself standing there, safe, warm, and simply watching, you might feel a gentle appreciation for how simple the fox keeps things. Notice, pause, move softly, repeat. That's a rhythm a tired mind can understand. The snow itself becomes part of the fox's sensory world. Snow can muffle sound, like a thick blanket over the earth, but it can also reveal tiny clues, delicate prints, shallow dips, small marks that look like handwriting in white. And as the fox listens and sniffs, you may notice your own breathing becoming slower, in and out, a steady rhythm that matches the tundra's quiet pace. Your thoughts, too, can become quieter, not forced, not pushed, just naturally settling. Because the Arctic fox's way of moving through the world isn't about conquering it. It's about belonging to it, listening to it, letting it be wide and calm. And in that wide calm, you're allowed to be wide and calm too. If the Arctic tundra were a painting, winter would be its minimalist phase. Whites, silvers, pale blues, soft shadows, a gentle glow that makes everything look slightly dreamlike. And in that winter painting, the Arctic fox becomes a brush stroke of white, so perfectly matched that it can be hard to tell where fox ends and snow begins. This seasonal coat change is one of the fox's quiet wonders. In winter, many Arctic foxes wear a brilliant white coat that helps them blend into snowy landscapes. In warmer seasons, that coat can shift toward brown or gray, matching the tundra's darker earth and summer textures. It's like the fox is politely changing outfits to respect the season's color palette. Soft humor, gentle as a sigh. Somewhere out there, the fox is the only one who can pull off an all-white outfit every day without spilling anything on it. Remarkable. But what's calming about this isn't just the cleverness, it's the softness of the idea. The fox doesn't fight the landscape, it joins it. It becomes part of the scenery. It chooses harmony over attention. And maybe that's why watching it feels restful. Because so much of our human world is about being seen, being noticed, being on. The Arctic fox offers a different mood, quiet, gentle, unbothered by the need to stand out. If you imagine the fox moving slowly across a snowfield, you might barely see it. Just a hint of motion, a delicate shadow, a soft shift in the whiteness. It's like watching a thought drift across the mind. Subtle, brief, and surprisingly soothing. Standing there in your imagination, you might feel a natural emotion rise, something like tenderness. This small creature in a vast landscape, and yet it seems perfectly at ease, like it has learned the art of being small without feeling less. So if your thoughts feel loud today, you can borrow a little of this fox wisdom. You don't have to stand out tonight. You can blend into rest. You can soften into quiet. The snow continues to glow. The wind continues to sigh. And the fox, dressed in winter's calm, continues to move like a gentle secret across the tundra. If you were to meet an Arctic fox in the softest possible way through a calm documentary lens, you would likely notice the tail. It's wonderfully full, plush, and almost comically perfect, like it was designed by nature's cozy department. The tail isn't just decoration, it's part of the fox's comfort system. Arctic foxes often use their tails to help conserve warmth, curling it around their bodies like a scarf, or tucking their noses into it when resting. It's a simple, gentle trick. When the cold air moves in, the fox gathers softness around itself and becomes a little circle of warmth, soft humor, lullaby level. Honestly, if humans had tails like that, winter would turn into a much less dramatic season. Imagine the scarf industry's reaction. Watching this kind of comfort is soothing because it's not complicated. The fox doesn't need 1,000 steps. It just curls up. It makes a small home out of its own body and breath. There's something deeply calming about that image. The fox settled in snow, tail wrapped, eyes half-lidded, while the world outside continues its slow Arctic song. Wind drifting, snow resting, a quiet that feels like a hand placed gently over the mind. If you imagine standing nearby, quiet, respectful, you might feel a soft warmth in your chest, the kind that comes from witnessing a creature that knows how to rest without guilt. No apologies. No, I should be doing more. Just rest. As natural as a sunset. And maybe that's something you can take from this scene tonight. Rest isn't something you earn by overworking yourself. Rest is something your body knows how to do when you give it permission. So, as your breathing settles, imagine gathering your own comfort the way the fox does. Not with a tail, perhaps, though that would be convenient, but with a blanket, a pillow, a slow exhale. A gentle loosening in the shoulders, a softening around the eyes. The Arctic fox reminds us that warmth can be simple. It can be small. It can be wrapped around us like a quiet promise. And as the night continues, the fox's tail stays close, like a fluffy punctuation mark at the end of a calm sentence. Snow is like nature's notebook. It records what passes through, briefly, delicately, without judgment. A wind gust can erase a page. A new snowfall can turn everything blank again. But for a little while, the surface holds stories. And the Arctic fox, with its light steps and furred paws, writes in this notebook as it moves. You might imagine a fox crossing a soft snowfield, leaving a line of small, neat prints, almost like tiny commas sprinkled across a white page. The pattern isn't frantic, it's steady, unhurried. A trail that says, "I was here," in the gentlest handwriting. These tracks can lead toward low shrubs, over a drift, around a bend in the land. They can reveal where the fox prefers to walk, where the snow is firmer, where the wind has carved a smoother path. And it's calming to realize the fox doesn't need roads. It simply learns the land, slowly, the way you learn a familiar room in the dark. Soft humor, friendly. The fox has no GPS, no map app, no battery anxiety. It just vibes responsibly. Tracks are also a reminder of time. They appear, they linger, and then they fade. And something about that can make the mind feel quieter. Not sad, just softened. Like a gentle reminder that everything moves, everything changes, and that's okay. If you picture yourself standing there, watching the prints stretch away, you might feel a small hush inside you too. A sense of the world being bigger than your worries, without making you feel small in a painful way. More like relieved. Like you can set your thoughts down for a moment and let the snow hold the silence. And the fox keeps moving, leaving a trail, then turning, then pausing, as if the tundra and the fox are quietly in conversation as you breathe in and out. Imagine your thoughts becoming like those tracks, small marks that pass through, leaving only a light impression and then fading gently into rest. Because tonight, you don't have to hold on to every thought. You can let the snow of sleep cover them softly. The Arctic fox's world is quiet, and so is the way it finds food. There's no dramatic fanfare in the tundra's pantry. Meals are small, practical, and tied closely to the seasons, like nature offering a modest menu that changes with the weather. Arctic foxes may eat a variety of things, small animals, birds, eggs, and in warmer seasons, berries or bits of plants. Sometimes they also take advantage of what the environment offers more easily, whatever is available without fuss. It's not about excess, it's about gentle balance. You can imagine the fox moving slowly across the land, pausing now and then to sniff, to listen, to notice. Nothing about it feels rushed. It's attentive, but calm. It takes what it needs, and then the tundra becomes quiet again. Soft humor, very gentle. The Arctic fox isn't chasing food trends. It's more of a seasonal, local ingredients kind of chef. And that simplicity is soothing. Because in human life, we often carry complicated hunger. Hunger for answers, for certainty, for control. The fox seems to carry a simpler kind, the calm, straightforward hunger of being alive. If you imagine standing nearby, you might feel a tender emotion, like gratitude. Not just for the fox, but for the whole idea that life can be modest and still be complete. That a small meal can be enough. That a small moment can be enough. that you don't have to consume the whole world to feel okay. Even the act of eating in this quiet place feels like part of the landscape, like another natural rhythm alongside wind and snow and moonlight. So as we drift deeper into the Arctic fox's story, let the idea of enough settle into you. Enough breath, enough softness, enough quiet. Tonight, you don't need a grand feast of thoughts, just a small, comforting portion of calm. On the tundra, the future arrives quietly, not with a calendar notification. More like a subtle change in the air, wind turning cooler, light shifting softer, the ground becoming a little more still. And in a world like this, it can be comforting to have a small habit of preparing, gently, without worry. The Arctic fox has a sweetly practical way of doing that. When food is available, it may carry a little extra and tuck it away, hidden in snow or soil, stored like a tiny secret for a later day, not in a dramatic, anxious way, more like a calm act of kindness toward its future self. Imagine the fox padding across the pale land with something small and useful, then pausing to find a quiet spot, a soft dig, a careful nudge. Then the snow is smoothed back over, as if the tundra is being politely asked to hold on to this gift for a while. Soft humor, gentle and cozy. It's basically meal prep. Arctic edition. No containers, no labels, just somewhere around here. Very minimalist, very on brand. This little routine has a calm wisdom in it. The fox doesn't need to control the whole future. It doesn't need to stockpile the entire tundra. It just makes a few small choices that say, later might be colder, so I'll leave myself a comfort. And that can feel surprisingly soothing to watch, because it mirrors something tender in us. We also tuck away little comforts, an extra blanket, a favorite tea, a note saved in a phone that makes us smile. Small things that quietly say, I'm taking care of you. In the wide stillness, the fox's storage spots become part of its personal map, little landmarks of remembering. The tundra may look the same in every direction, but to the fox it holds familiar corners, a ridge shaped by wind, a low shrub, a gentle slope where snow settles just so. If you picture yourself standing there, it might stir a warm feeling, like admiration mixed with calm affection. This small creature doesn't need grand plans. It simply practices steady care. So as your breathing slows, you can borrow that feeling. Not the pressure of preparation, just the softness of it. The idea that you can set something aside, mentally, and return to it later. For now, though, you don't need to store anything at all. Tonight, you can let your mind be like fresh snow, smooth, quiet, and perfectly free. The tundra changes its mood with the seasons, and the Arctic fox changes along with it, slowly, naturally, like a gentle conversation between fur and weather. No big announcements, no dramatic reveal, just a quiet shift over time. In winter, the fox often wears that famous white coat, soft, bright, and wonderfully suited to snowy landscapes. When warmer seasons arrive, the coat can transition into browns and grays, blending with rock, soil, and tundra plants. It's less like fashion and more like harmony, being in tune with the colors of the world. If you imagine the Arctic in summer, it's still not loud. The sun lingers longer, and the land shows more texture. Patches of green, small flowers, damp earth, and gentle movement in grasses. The fox's darker coat fits this season the way a cozy sweater fits a cool evening, soft humor, affectionate. The fox is the rare type who can pull off seasonal outfits without ever shopping. No cart, no checkout, just nature quietly handling the wardrobe. And what's especially calming is how unbothered this feels. The fox doesn't seem to resist change. It doesn't complain about the forecast. It simply becomes what the season invites it to be. There's a soft lesson hidden here, one that doesn't need to be stated like advice. Just watched. Change doesn't have to be sharp. It can be gradual, like light shifting in a room. It can be gentle enough that you only notice it later, and when you do, you think, "Oh, that happened kindly." If you stand in this imagined tundra for a moment, you might feel something tender in your chest, a kind of peaceful acceptance. The world is always moving, always adjusting, and sometimes the best response is to adjust softly too. The Arctic fox's coat isn't just color, it's comfort, it's insulation, it's protection from cold and wind. It's a living blanket that responds to the season's needs without fuss. And watching a creature carry its own warmth so naturally can make your own body feel safer. So as your eyes grow heavier, imagine your own coat change for the night, switching from daytime thoughts to nighttime softness, from busy to quiet, from holding everything to letting it go. The tundra turns its page, the fox turns with it, and you too are allowed to turn gently toward rest. There's a special kind of calm that comes from returning to a familiar place, even if that place is small, even if it's hidden, even if the world outside is wide and bright with snow. For the Arctic fox, the den can be that familiar place, a pocket of stillness shaped by time. Some dens may be used again and again across seasons, like a quiet home address the tundra remembers. The entrance might be subtle, a low opening near a slope, a place where the wind feels less direct, where the snow drifts in a gentler way. If you imagine the fox approaching its den, the whole scene becomes softer. The fox slows, the land quiets. The night seems to lean in respectfully, like it understands what's happening. This is where the fox can loosen its body and rest. Inside the den, sound changes. The wind becomes a muffled hush. The bright world becomes dim, and the cold feels less sharp, more distant, like it has agreed to wait outside. Soft humor whispered, "The den is basically the fox's cozy mode. If it had a button, it would say, lower brightness, reduce notifications, begin nap." Dens can also be places where life feels close and gentle, where young foxes might be raised when the season is right. Even imagining that brings a warm, emotional softness. The idea of a small family space in a vast landscape. The idea that tenderness exists even where everything looks made of ice and sky. And if you were standing nearby in your imagination, you might feel a quiet comfort that surprises you. Not because the den is fancy. It isn't. It's practical, earthy, simple. But it offers something we all understand. Shelter, a boundary, a place where the world doesn't press in. Sometimes, as humans, we think rest has to be earned, or deserved, or scheduled. The fox suggests something simpler. Rest is part of living. It's part of the rhythm. The den is a reminder that safety can be small and still be real. So tonight, let your bed be your den. Let your blanket be your snowbank. Let the room around you become a gentle shelter from the wide world. Inhale slowly and exhale even slower. Outside, the tundra continues its quiet work. Wind drifting, snow settling, moonlight shining softly on the land. Inside, the fox rests. And you can rest too, without explanation, without effort, just because the night is made for it. Even in the calmest landscapes, life isn't dull, it's just subtle. The Arctic fox carries a soft kind of curiosity, like a small lantern held low to the ground. It doesn't blaze, it glows. Imagine the fox stepping into a patch of snow shaped by wind, sniffing a new scent, pausing near a tuft of grass that pokes through the white like a tiny flag. The fox's head tilts, its ears angle slightly. It's not dramatic, it's simply interested. And that interest feels gentle to watch because it reminds us that curiosity doesn't have to be loud. It can be quiet and slow, like turning a page in a book you've read many times, still enjoying the familiar sentences. Sometimes, foxes may play, especially younger ones, moving lightly, testing their bodies, learning the shape of their world with soft energy. In your mind's eye, it's almost like watching a small cloud practice being a cloud. A little bounce, a little pause, a little turn. Soft humor, warm and sweet. The fox's play style is very "I'm just stretching," even when it's clearly having fun. A very relatable approach to exercise. In the tundra, where everything is wide and simple, small moments of play stand out like tiny sparkles on snow. And there's something emotionally easing about that. It tells your nervous system, life can be steady and light, calm and bright. If you imagine standing there, you might feel a gentle smile that isn't forced, just a natural warmth, a sense that the world, even at its coldest, still makes room for softness. And as you watch the fox explore, you may notice your own mind exploring less sharply. Thoughts can drift through without grabbing you. Curiosity can become a lullaby instead of a to-do list, because tonight, you're not required to solve anything. You're only invited to notice like the fox does. A scent in the air, a soft shadow, a quiet change in wind direction. The comfort of being here, in this story, safe and unhurried. So if your thoughts wander, let them wander kindly. Let them be fox curious, gentle, brief, and ready to settle again. And when you feel ready, let that small lantern of curiosity dim into rest, still glowing, but softer now. Softer, quieter. The Arctic has a soundscape that feels like it was designed for sleep. It doesn't shout. It doesn't crowd your ears. It offers a simple soundtrack made mostly of space. Wind is the main musician here. Sometimes it moves like a slow brush across snow, making a soft, steady hush. Sometimes it fades until you can hear the quieter sounds underneath. The faint settling of ice, the gentle creak of frozen ground, the distant call of a bird that seems to float in the air like a single note held gently. And then there's silence, not the empty kind, but the full kind. The kind that feels like a warm room for your thoughts to rest in. The Arctic fox moves through the soundtrack as if it knows the tempo. Its steps are light, its pauses are long. It seems to listen more than it speaks. Even its presence feels quiet, like it's trying not to wrinkle the stillness. If you imagine the fox stopping and standing very still, You can almost feel the moment expand. The wind passes, the snow glows, the world continues doing nothing in particular, and somehow that feels deeply reassuring. Soft humor, barely audible. The tundra is not into podcasts. It's more of a long-form, ambient wind kind of listener. Sound is part of how the fox understands its surroundings, but it's also part of how the fox rests inside its world. And maybe that's what makes this scene so calming for us. It gives us permission to stop filling every quiet gap. So many days are noisy, voices, screens, notifications, internal monologues that keep talking even when nobody asks them to. Here, the tundra offers a different way. Quiet that doesn't demand performance. If you were standing here in your imagination, you might feel a natural emotion, relief, a soft unclenching, like your mind is finally allowed to sit down. So let's do that together. Inhale slowly, as if you're breathing in moonlight. Exhale gently, as if you're breathing out all the extra noise. The fox stays near, a small white shape against the pale land, moving only when it wants to. And the tundra continues its gentle song. Wind, hush, stillness, and the quiet feeling that everything, for this moment, is enough. Moonlight in the Arctic feels different. It isn't flashy. It doesn't bounce around like it's trying to get attention. It rests on the snow the way a soft hand rests on a shoulder, steady, gentle, and calm. The tundra, under moonlight, becomes a quiet world of pale gradients. White snow turns silver. Shadows stretch long and smooth. Even the air feels brighter, as if the cold has polished it clean. And the Arctic fox, wrapped in winter fur, looks like it has stepped out of the moon itself. Small, bright, and quietly at home. If you imagine watching the fox from a respectful distance, you'll notice how it uses light without rushing it. It moves when it moves. It pauses when it pauses. It lets the landscape be wide and still, as if it knows the night doesn't need help being night. In the Arctic, the length of light and darkness can change dramatically across seasons. Sometimes there are long days when the sun lingers like a guest who doesn't notice the time. Sometimes there are long nights when darkness stays and stays, not in a scary way, more like a soft blanket that doesn't need to be pulled back too soon. And in those long nights, moonlight becomes a companion, a steady presence, a gentle glow that makes everything feel a little dreamlike. Soft humor, low and warm. The moon here doesn't do harsh lighting. It's very flattering, very soft focus. The tundra is basically living in a permanent cinematic filter. As you breathe in and out, you might feel your own mind start to match the moon's pace. No need to hurry. No need to brighten everything into clarity. You can let your thoughts be slightly blurry tonight. Soft edges are allowed. There's something emotional about the fox in moonlight. How small it is. How quiet. How perfectly it fits the scene. It can bring up a gentle tenderness, like looking at a sleeping animal and feeling your heart automatically lower its voice. And maybe that's part of why we watch nature at night, to remember that not everything has to be intense to be meaningful. Sometimes the most beautiful moments are the ones that simply rest. So let the moonlight settle over you too. Let your room feel a little softer. Let your breath become slower. The Arctic fox moves through silver snow, a small whisper of life in a wide, quiet world. And you, listening now, can drift alongside it, calm, safe, and unhurried. The Arctic is honest about cold. It doesn't pretend. It doesn't negotiate. It simply offers a world where warmth is precious, and creatures learn to hold it gently, like tea in a cup. The Arctic fox is remarkably good at this, not through drama, but through small, steady design. A compact body helps conserve heat, keeping warmth closer to the center. Shorter ears reduce the surface area where heat might slip away. Thick fur provides insulation, trapping air close to the skin like a soft, invisible quilt. And the fox doesn't make a big show of these adaptations. It just exists inside them, like someone wearing a perfectly warm coat and not mentioning it once. Soft humor, cozy. The Arctic fox is basically wearing a luxury winter jacket at all times. No zipper required. No, where did I put my gloves? Panic. Truly elite, but beyond the biology, there's a feeling here that can soothe the listener. The fox's calm confidence in its own comfort. It doesn't look like it's constantly checking the temperature. It looks like it trusts itself to handle the night. And that trust is restful to witness. If you imagine standing on the tundra, the air crisp on your cheeks, you might feel a little awe, quiet awe, at how life finds ways to be gentle, even in harsh climates. Not through force, through patience, through small changes that accumulate over time. There's also something comforting in the idea that warmth doesn't have to be a big dramatic event. Sometimes it's just closeness, a curled posture, a sheltered spot, a slow breath that makes the body feel safe. So as you listen, you can practice a fox-like form of warmth. Let your shoulders drop. Let your hands rest. Let your breathing soften into your belly. Gather yourself inward, gently. Inhale, as if you're drawing warmth closer. Exhale, as if you're letting the cold, busy edges of the day drift away. The Arctic fox teaches us a quiet truth. Comfort can be a skill, a rhythm, something the body remembers when we stop interrupting it. And tonight, you don't need to work for that comfort. You only need to allow it, like the fox does, without fuss, without hurry, simply resting inside the gentle intelligence of being alive. The tundra is not a supermarket. It doesn't offer endless aisles and bright packaging. It offers something simpler, a seasonal rhythm, a slow menu that changes quietly, like a gentle chef adjusting the ingredients based on what the land is ready to give. For the Arctic fox, food can vary with the time of year. In colder seasons, small animals may be part of the menu, along with whatever the landscape provides. In warmer seasons, there can be berries and other plant foods, and sometimes opportunities near bird nesting areas. It's a steady, flexible way of living, less about cravings, more about what's available. You can imagine the fox moving over snow, then over patches of thawed earth later in the year, always attentive but never frantic. It's like the fox trusts that the land, in its own quiet way, will provide enough. Soft humor, affectionate. The Arctic fox is the opposite of picky. It's more like, ah yes, the chef's special, whatever I found. Very adventurous, very practical. And there's something restful about that practicality. because so much of human life can feel like constant choosing, constant comparing, constant trying to optimize. The fox's approach feels like a soft exhale. Take what fits, leave what doesn't, move along. As you listen, you might feel your own mental appetite changing. Maybe you don't need to consume so many thoughts tonight. Maybe you don't need to analyze every feeling. You can simply take in what's soothing: wind, snow, moonlight, a small fox moving gently across the tundra. The seasons themselves become part of the story. The Arctic is a place where time feels bigger than the day-to-day. Light and darkness shift slowly, then dramatically, then slowly again. The land becomes a different place, but always retains its quiet character. And the fox, small as it is, moves through these changes with a kind of calm competence. It doesn't fight the season, it flows with it. So as your breathing slows, imagine your own season for the night. A season of rest, a season of softness, a season where your mind doesn't have to produce or prove. Tonight's menu is simple, quiet, warmth, sleep. Even in the wide-open tundra, the Arctic fox is not alone in the universe. The landscape is shared, with birds that pass overhead, with small creatures that leave delicate tracks, with distant mammals moving through their own quiet routines. The Arctic is a community, just a very spacious one. It's like living in a neighborhood where everyone respects your personal space, and the fences are made of snowdrifts. The fox's life is woven into this broader web of tundra relationships. It listens for sounds, notices scents, watches patterns in the land. Sometimes it may find opportunities near other animals' activity, leftover bits, seasonal gatherings, places where life concentrates briefly before spreading out again. And none of this feels like conflict when we watch it through a sleepy lens. It feels like a quiet network of presence, each creature doing what it does, in its own lane, at its own pace. Soft humor, gentle. The tundra is basically an introvert's dream community. Everyone's like, "Hi," from very far away, with no follow-up questions. There's a calming emotional note in that idea. You can be part of something without being crowded by it. You can belong without being busy. The Arctic fox belongs to this world, and it doesn't need to shout about it. If you imagine standing there, you might feel a soft sense of connection to the fox, to the land, to the quiet idea that life can be shared gently, that you don't have to push to be included. Sometimes you're included simply by being present. So tonight, let's share the tundra's mood. Respectful space, quiet coexistence, calm routines. Inhale slowly, exhale softly. The fox continues on, leaving delicate prints. The wind continues to smooth the snow. The night continues to hold everything in gentle balance. And you, listening now, can feel yourself becoming part of this quiet network too, held by the same calm air, the same slow rhythm, the same steady softness of the wild. At some point, the Arctic fox stops moving, not abruptly, not like a switch flipping, but gradually, like a song fading into a softer verse. It finds a spot where the snow looks comfortable enough, where the wind feels gentler, where the ground seems willing to hold a small body in peace. Then it settles. The fox lowers itself slowly, tucking paws close, gathering fur inward. Its body becomes a small, rounded shape on the snow, compact, warm, and wonderfully still. Often, it curls its tail around itself, sometimes even bringing its nose toward that fluffy warmth, like a living scarf completing the circle. This curling isn't just cute, it's practical. It helps conserve heat by reducing exposure, keeping warmth close, and making the fox a little pocket of comfort in a cold world. But beyond practicality, it's also deeply soothing to watch. Because the fox looks like it trusts rest. It doesn't look like it's worried about being productive. It looks like it has accepted a simple truth. Nighttime is for softness. Soft humor, lullaby soft. The Arctic fox's resting form is basically a professional-level blanket burrito. If it had a certificate, it would be framed somewhere, quietly. If you imagine sitting nearby, safe, warm, and only observing, you might feel your own body respond. Your shoulders soften, your face relaxes, your breathing slows as if your nervous system is taking notes. Oh, that's how you do it. And perhaps that's the gift of watching animals rest. It gives us permission to rest without bargaining, to stop without explaining, to let the mind quiet without forcing it. So as the fox becomes a small snow curl, you can become a little more curled into your own comfort too. Let the blanket gather. Let your arms rest where they fall naturally. Let your breath move like a slow tide. Inhale, exhale. The tundra holds the fox gently, like a wide, quiet bed. Moonlight continues to glow. Wind continues its soft hush. And in this calm scene, you're invited to do the same simple thing the fox does so well. Settle, gather warmth, and let the night carry you. The Arctic has a way of making everything feel simpler. The sky feels wide, the land feels open, and the snow, so soft, so pale, feels like it's quietly trying to help. Snow is not only something that falls and glows, it can also become shelter. When wind drifts snow into gentle banks and shallow folds, the tundra forms little protected pockets, places where the air feels less sharp, where the movement of wind becomes a softer hush. In these small curves of the landscape, the Arctic fox can find a calmer place to rest, or simply a moment of comfort away from the most open exposure. If you imagine it now, you can see the fox approaching a low drift. It doesn't rush. It pauses as if the land is speaking, and the fox is politely listening. It steps into the shelter of the snowbank, where the night feels slightly quieter, like someone turned the volume down by one peaceful notch. There's something tender about this. The Arctic looks so vast that it might feel like comfort would be hard to find. But the tundra offers it in small ways. Soft dips, wind-shaped ridges, gentle shadows. And the fox accepts these gifts without drama. It simply takes what the land offers and lets that be enough. Soft humor, warm and sleepy. The snowbank is basically nature's reading nook. No lamp, no blanket, except technically, the snow is both the walls and the blanket. Very efficient. Watching this can stir a quiet emotion. Relief, maybe. Because it suggests something simple. You don't need a huge change to feel safer. Sometimes you just need a small shift into shelter. A slight turn away from the wind, a softer corner of the world. And tonight, you're allowed to do the same. Let your bed be your snowbank. Let your blanket be the drift that tucks in around you. Let your room be a gentle pocket where the outside world feels far away, like weather on the other side of a window. In the tundra, snow also softens sound. It absorbs sharp edges. It makes the world quieter by simply being there. And if you picture the fox resting near a bank of snow, small body curled, tail drawn close, you may notice your own mind doing a similar thing, pulling inward, settling, becoming less spiky and more smooth. Inhale slowly, as if you're breathing in the hush. Exhale softly, as if you're letting your thoughts settle into snow. The Arctic fox remains a small comfort in a wide landscape, proof that even the biggest places have gentle corners, and even the quietest nights can feel like home. Even the return of daylight in the Arctic can feel unhurried, like the world is waking up politely, trying not to disturb anyone who's still resting. Imagine the horizon beginning to soften. Not bright, not sudden, just a gradual lightening, as if someone is slowly turning up a dimmer switch. The snow changes color, from silver to pale blue, and then to something faintly pink, like a blush on the edge of the sky. The Arctic fox, if it's awake, doesn't appear startled by this shift. Light comes and goes here in long, gentle arcs, and the fox's life moves with those rhythms. It might lift its head slightly. It might blink slowly. It might simply remain curled, letting the new light arrive without feeling the need to do anything about it. That's one of the quiet comforts of nature. Sunrise doesn't demand productivity. It doesn't ask you to explain yourself. It simply arrives, and the world receives it. Soft humor, sleepy and kind. Sunrise in the Arctic feels like it's whispering. No rush. I brought light, but I'm not here to make it a whole thing. As the day grows a little clearer, the tundra's textures appear. Subtle ridges in snow, tiny twigs, faint tracks left from the night before. Everything looks clean and calm, like the landscape took a long bath in cold air. And if you imagine standing there, watching the light return, you might feel something quiet and emotional, a gentle gratitude, not for a big reason, just for the simple beauty of a world that keeps moving in soft cycles, night to morning, stillness to softness, rest to quiet waking. Our earlier question returns like a familiar scent. How does a small creature feel at home in a place so big? Maybe part of the answer is this. It trusts the rhythm. It trusts that light will return, and darkness will return, and neither one needs to be forced. So tonight, right now, you can borrow that trust. You don't have to plan the next hour. You don't have to solve tomorrow. You can let time be time. Let your body do what it already knows how to do. Unwind, settle, and drift. Inhale, slow and easy. Exhale, longer, softer. The Arctic fox remains part of this gentle cycle, sometimes moving, sometimes resting, always belonging. And you too are allowed to belong to the night without earning it. Because rest is not a reward, it's a rhythm. And the tundra, with its slow return of light, quietly reminds us, even the world wakes up softly. Snow has a quiet way of remembering, not with loud stories or sharp details, just soft evidence, a few prints, a shallow trail, a tiny scuff where something paused. Then, slowly, the wind smooths it all again, and the memory fades into fresh white. In the tundra, memory isn't stored in books. It's stored in the land, briefly, gently, and without attachment. And that's part of what makes it so calming to witness. Nature doesn't cling, it records, then releases. If you imagine walking across snow after the Arctic fox has passed, you might find the delicate marks of its night, small footprints like quiet punctuation, a neat line, then a pause, then a turn. It's like reading a sentence written in a language of softness. Then you wait a while. A little wind arrives. A new dusting of snow settles. And the sentence disappears, erased not with anger, but with tenderness, soft humor, affectionate. The tundra is basically the world's most peaceful editor. Lovely draft, it says. And now, we begin again. There's a gentle lesson here, though it doesn't need to be delivered like advice. It can simply be felt. The mind, too, leaves tracks. Thoughts pass through, feelings pause, memories appear like footprints on a surface. And when we try to hold them too tightly, we sometimes forget that they're allowed to soften. Nature shows a different way. Let the track exist, and then let it fade. Some landscapes hold deeper memory too. Layers beneath the snow, soil, and permafrost, slow changes over time. The tundra carries the story of seasons like rings in a tree, except here the rings are made of light and cold and thaw and hush. Standing before that kind of quiet time can stir a natural emotion, humility maybe. Not the heavy kind, the relieving kind. The kind that makes your problems feel less sharp, simply because the world is bigger and calmer than they are. So tonight, if your mind is replaying something, you don't have to wrestle it into silence. You can treat it like a footprint. Notice it kindly. Let it be there. Then let it soften. Inhale, like fresh snow settling. Exhale, like wind smoothing the surface. The Arctic fox leaves a trail and doesn't worry about preserving it. The tundra receives it and then gently lets it go. And you can do the same, allowing your thoughts to pass through, leaving only a faint impression until sleep covers everything in quiet, clean white. Adaptation sounds like a big word, but in nature it often looks like something small and lovely. A thicker coat, a compact body, fur on paws, a tail that becomes a blanket, quiet changes that don't demand applause, just comfort. The Arctic fox is a gentle poem of adaptation, not a poem with dramatic rhymes, more like a lullaby with repeating lines. Warmth matters, shelter matters, rest matters. Over time, the fox becomes a living answer to the Arctic's calm question, how do you stay soft in a cold world? And the fox answers without speaking. It simply exists, beautifully prepared, quietly capable. Soft humor, tender. The Arctic fox is so well adapted that it's basically the tundra's favorite student. Straight A's in being cozy, with extra credit in looking adorable while doing it. But the deeper comfort here isn't the trivia of biology, it's the feeling behind it. Nature doesn't ask for perfection all at once. It shapes life slowly. It allows gentle improvements. It favors what works, what fits, what brings steadiness. That can feel like a relief to the human heart. Because humans often think we must change quickly, solve everything, become better on a strict schedule. The fox reminds us that lasting change is often quiet. It arrives gradually, like dawn. It builds through small adjustments, repeated kindly. If you picture the fox again, moving across snow with calm confidence, you might feel a warm emotion rise. Admiration, yes, but also something softer, like permission. Permission to be a work in progress without panic. Permission to adjust gently. Tonight, you don't need to become a different person. You only need to become a softer version of yourself for a little while. Like a coat changing with the season, like shoulders dropping with an exhale. Inhale, gather warmth. Exhale, release the day. Nature's poetry isn't written in big speeches. It's written in fur and wind and quiet routines. And the Arctic fox, small and steady, moves through that poem like a calm line you can repeat in your mind. Warmth matters, rest matters, softness matters, and as you listen, you can let your own body believe it, slowly, gently, until sleep feels less like something you chase and more like something you simply return to. When we think of nature, we sometimes imagine it as loud, but the tundra is a soft teacher. It shows how much of life is supported quietly, without announcements, without fanfare. The snow insulates the ground. The wind shapes drifts that become shelter. Small plants stay low and steady, helping hold the soil, offering tiny pockets of life. Birds move with the season, and their presence becomes part of the tundra's rhythm. Even the sky plays its role, changing light slowly, guiding the tempo of living. And within this calm network, the Arctic fox lives, not separate from the landscape, but held by it. This is a kind of cooperation that doesn't require meetings. It's not signed in ink. It's simply how things fit together when they're allowed to be what they are. Soft humor, very gentle. The Tundra's group project is surprisingly successful, considering nobody seems to talk. Everyone just quietly does their part. Introverts everywhere would be proud. There's something emotionally comforting about this idea that the world can be supportive without being noisy. That help can be subtle. That belonging can be quiet. Even your own body works this way. Your breath supports your heartbeat. Your heartbeat supports your warmth. Your warmth supports your rest. You don't have to micromanage it. It simply happens, like a small internal tundra, steady and calm. So if you feel tired tonight, you don't need to carry everything alone in your mind. You can let the network hold you, your bed holding your body, your blanket holding warmth, your breathing holding rhythm, your room holding quiet. Inhale and feel your ribs expand like a gentle horizon. Exhale and feel yourself settle like snow. The Arctic fox, in its smallness, becomes a symbol of this quiet support. It doesn't need to dominate the landscape. It needs only to fit within it, to accept shelter, to accept rhythm, to accept the simple truth that the world is full of soft supports if we let ourselves notice them. And maybe that's the wonder. Not that nature is harsh or grand or dramatic, but that it is often quietly kind, quietly balanced, quietly holding. Tonight, you can let that kindness reach you. You can let your thoughts loosen. You can let your body be supported, and you can drift gently into the same calm cooperation the tundra has practiced all along. If the tundra had a motto, it might be something like, keep it small, keep it steady, because here, the most successful lives aren't always tall or fast. They're often quiet and close to the ground. Mosses and lichens are some of the tundra's gentle champions. They spread slowly, hold on patiently, and make a kind of soft foundation for the landscape. They don't rush into greatness. They simply keep showing up, one tiny piece at a time, until the ground begins to feel lived in. There's something calming about imagining them under snow, waiting. Not anxious, not dramatic, just quietly present, ready to continue when the season allows. The tundra doesn't seem to measure worth by speed. It measures worth by steadiness. Soft humor, affectionate, moss never hurries. Moss is living proof that slow can still be wildly successful. If moss had a resume, it would just say, consistent, low drama, excellent at being green. And the Arctic fox, in its own way, mirrors this slow success. The fox doesn't try to be huge. It doesn't try to be loud. It simply becomes very good at being what it is, small, warm, observant, and steady. Standing in this imagined tundra, you might feel a gentle emotion rise, comfort. Because the world we live in often celebrates speed, fast replies, fast progress, fast everything. But nature, especially the Arctic, makes a strong case for the opposite. Slow is not failure. Slow is rhythm. Slow is how life becomes real. So tonight, if your mind tells you you're behind, you can answer with tundra logic. I'm not behind. I'm just moving at a natural pace. Inhale, slowly. Exhale, even slower. Let the moss and lichens be your quiet companions, tiny lives that prove you don't have to hurry to be enough. Let the Arctic fox be your reminder that warmth can be gathered patiently and that calm can be practiced like a habit. The tundra doesn't ask you to race. It invites you to settle, to soften, to become steady. And in that steadiness, sleep arrives not as a goal, but as a gentle continuation, like moss growing, like snow falling, like the quiet success of simply resting. There's a kind of intelligence in nature that doesn't look like thinking. It looks like balancing, like breathing. The tundra is an ecosystem that adjusts in quiet ways, light shifting, snow insulating, plants growing low, animals moving with the season. Nothing here appears to shout instructions, and yet, somehow, it works. The whole system holds itself in a gentle kind of order, like a slow dance where everyone knows the steps without speaking. The Arctic fox is part of this intelligence. Its thick coat responds to seasons. Its behaviors follow availability, food, shelter, weather. It learns the land the way you learn the shape of your home in the dark, through repetition and familiarity. And when you watch it in your mind, it can feel like watching a calm mind at work. Notice, adjust, settle. Notice, adjust, settle. Soft humor, warm. The tundra's ecosystem is basically running a very sophisticated operation with 0 emails. No meetings, no quick sync, just vibes. And somehow it's effective. This idea can land softly in the heart, because we often try to think our way into peace, when peace might actually be more like balance, small adjustments, gentle routines, a steady breath returning again and again. Maybe your own body has an ecosystem intelligence too. Your nervous system knows how to slow down when you let it. Your breath knows how to deepen when you stop forcing it. Your muscles know how to release when you stop clenching them like you're holding up the whole world. So tonight, You can let yourself become an ecosystem, quietly self-balancing. You don't need a dramatic breakthrough. You only need a small shift. Soften the jaw, lower the shoulders, let the belly rise and fall naturally. Inhale, like the tundra drawing in moonlight. Exhale, like snow settling into stillness. The Arctic fox doesn't ask the tundra to change for it. It simply fits. It adapts. It trusts the rhythm. And there's something deeply soothing in that trust. So if you feel the urge to control everything tonight, you can set it down gently. You can tell your mind kindly, we're not controlling the night. We're joining it. Let the ecosystem hold you. Let your breath be your gentle feedback loop. Let your thoughts drift like wind across snow, present, but not grabbing. And slowly, like balance returning, you'll feel sleep begin to gather, quietly, naturally, like a calm system doing what it has always known how to do. One of the most comforting things about nature is that it repeats itself, softly, faithfully, without demanding applause. The tundra is built on returning patterns. Light and darkness shift. Snow arrives, then loosens. Plants rise, then rest. Animals adjust, then settle again. Even when the changes are dramatic, the rhythm behind them feels steady, like the world is keeping a quiet promise. I will move forward, and I will also return. The Arctic fox lives inside this promise. Its coat shifts with the season. Its routines follow the land's gentle offerings. It doesn't seem surprised when darkness lingers or when light comes back. It moves as if it trusts the cycle. And something about that trust can soothe the human heart. Because humans often fear change. Not always the change itself, but the uncertainty around it. We want to know how things will feel, how long they will last, what comes next. The tundra can't answer all those questions, but it offers a gentle reassurance. Change can be rhythmic. It can be part of a larger return. Soft humor, tender. The tundra is basically the most reliable friend. It's like, yes, we are doing winter again. Very committed to the theme. If you imagine standing here, watching the cycle unfold, you might feel a soft emotion rise, something like steadiness, like your nervous system is hearing a quiet message. Not everything is random, not everything is chaos. Some things simply rotate, like a slow wheel. So tonight, you can let your body join a pattern too. The pattern of breathing, the pattern of relaxing, the pattern of eyelids growing heavier, the pattern of sleep returning, even if it wandered off for a while. Inhale, exhale. Let that be your small season. Breath in, breath out. Let your bed be your landscape, steady, familiar, returning. Let your mind stop demanding certainty and start accepting rhythm. The Arctic fox doesn't need to predict every future moment. It simply meets the season it's in. It finds a den. It gathers warmth. It rests when it's time to rest. And you can do the same, gently. You don't have to solve tomorrow tonight. Tonight's promise is simpler. This is the hour for softness. Let the patterns return you to calm. Let the cycle carry you. And let sleep arrive as something familiar, like winter returning, like light returning, like a quiet promise kept. Wind is the tundra's quiet teacher. It doesn't lecture. It doesn't explain. It simply moves. And in moving, It shows what it means to let go. Wind lifts loose snow and carries it gently across the surface. It smooths footprints. It reshapes drifts. It turns sharp edges into soft ones, again and again, without frustration. The wind doesn't cling to what was there a moment ago. It keeps moving forward, and the land receives the lesson. Release can be continuous and calm. The Arctic fox lives with this wind. It doesn't argue with it. It finds shelter when it wants. It uses the drifts the wind makes. It adapts quietly. And when it rests even while the wind continues, because it trusts that the world can move without needing it to manage everything. Soft humor, gentle. The wind is very into decluttering. It sees a footprint and goes, "No thank you," and politely erases it. Marie Kondo would approve. Watching this can stir a soft emotional shift in you, because maybe you too can let something be erased tonight. Not in a sad way, just in a relieving way. A thought that keeps looping, a worry that keeps knocking, a memory that feels too bright. You don't have to fight those thoughts. You can let wind pass through the mind, gentle, steady, softening the edges. So imagine your thoughts as footprints on snow. They appeared because you were alive today. That's all. They don't need to become permanent. They can be smoothed. They can fade. Inhale, like wind gathering. Exhale, like wind releasing. Let your jaw relax. Let your forehead smooth. Let your shoulders drop, as if the wind is gently brushing them lower. The Arctic fox remains small and steady, a calm point in a moving world. It shows us that release isn't dramatic. It's not a grand goodbye. It's a soft loosening, like fingers unclenching, like snow settling, like wind continuing. Tonight, you can loosen too. You can let the day drift away from you without chasing it. You can let sleep be the new drift that covers everything quietly, making the world clean and soft again. Because letting go isn't losing. It's resting. It's making room. It's allowing the night to do what it does best. Hush, soften, and carry you gently onward. When we say home, we often picture a place, a door, a room, a familiar corner. But the tundra suggests another kind of home, one made of rhythm rather than walls. For the Arctic fox, home can be a den, yes, but it can also be a territory the fox knows by heart, the slope where the wind is kinder, the ridge that catches moonlight, the quiet path where snow feels firm underfoot. Home is familiarity. Home is a pattern learned slowly. Home is the feeling of the world making sense in small ways. And as we've watched the fox, moving, pausing, listening, resting, we've been holding a gentle question. How does a small creature learn to feel at home in a place so big? Maybe the answer has been here all along. It doesn't try to make the whole world smaller. It makes its own rhythm steadier. Soft humor, tender and sleepy. The Arctic fox doesn't need a giant mansion. It just needs a cozy corner and a good tail blanket. Honestly, same. This can land in the heart like a soft relief, because humans often think comfort requires a perfect setup, perfect timing, perfect conditions, perfect control. But nature shows another way. Comfort can be practiced. Home can be carried in routines. Rest can be created through small, repeated acts of softness. So tonight, You can build home in your body, with your breath, with your stillness, with the way you let your muscles release one by one. Inhale, slow and steady. Exhale, longer and softer. Let your room become familiar again. Let the shadows become gentle. Let the sounds outside become distant, like wind far over snow. The Arctic fox, small, warm, and calm, belongs to its wide world by moving gently within it. It trusts the landscape. It trusts its own quiet skills. It rests when it's time to rest. And you can do that too. As we begin to drift toward the next phase of the journey, the descent, the return, the soft settling, keep this feeling close. Home is not always a place you find. Sometimes it's a rhythm you return to. And tonight, your rhythm is simple. Breathe, soften, drift, sleep. The tundra is quieter now, not because anything dramatic changed, but because your attention has softened. The wind still moves. The snow still rests. The sky still holds its pale glow. And yet, everything feels a little more distant, like the world has stepped back to give you room. Somewhere in this gentle spaciousness, our question returns, quietly, like a familiar scent on cold air. How does a small creature learn to feel at home in a place so big? The Arctic fox doesn't answer with words. It answers with posture, with rhythm, with the simple, steady act of being calm in its own body. It finds shelter in a snowbank, warmth in a coat, comfort in a curl. It moves a little, then pauses. It listens. It rests. And in that repeating pattern, home appears, not as a building, but as a feeling. If you imagine the fox now, it's not performing. It's simply existing, small and warm against a wide world. Its breath is steady. Its fur holds the cold at a respectful distance. Its tail stays close like a soft promise. Soft humor, almost a whisper. The fox's entire life philosophy seems to be, keep it simple, stay fluffy, nap when possible. A surprisingly elegant system, and as you watch, you may feel your own body taking notes. Your breath becomes smoother. Your shoulders become heavier. Your thoughts become less sharp, like edges being softened by wind. The tundra teaches a quiet kind of conclusion. You don't need to make the world smaller to feel safe. You can make your inner world softer. You can gather comfort around you like a tail blanket. You can build home out of small, repeated kindnesses. A slow exhale, a relaxed jaw, a warm blanket, a gentle pause. So let's return to your body now. Slowly, kindly. Notice the weight of your head. Notice the ease of your hands. Notice the rise and fall of your breath. Nothing to fix, nothing to force. Inhale, exhale. If a thought arrives, let it pass like a faint track in snow. If a worry appears, let it soften at the edges, like a drift smoothing under wind. You don't have to hold it, you only have to allow it to fade. The fox remains out there, a small presence in a wide landscape, calm and unhurried. And you, listening now, can become a small, calm presence too, resting inside your own quiet shelter. Home, tonight, is not a place you reach. It's a softness you return to. Now the story begins to sink, slowly, like snow settling, not ending, just quieting. The tundra feels more like a lullaby than a landscape. Wind turns into a hush. Moonlight becomes a soft wash of silver, and the Arctic fox, somewhere nearby in the wide night, seems less like a subject and more like a gentle symbol of rest. Imagine the fox again, finding a protected spot. Not a perfect spot, just one that feels good enough. A shallow dip, a leeward side of a drift, a place where the air feels slightly calmer. It lowers itself, unhurried. It curls in, tail wraps close, nose tucks toward warmth, and that simple shape, the small snow curl, feels like a cue your body understands, because the body loves reminders. It loves permission, and watching an animal rest with such ease can make your own eyelids feel heavier, as if sleep is remembering the way home. Soft humor, lullaby. Soft. The Fox is basically a masterclass in cozy. If comfort had an Olympics, it would quietly win gold, and then take a nap on it. As the night deepens, let your attention widen and soften. You don't need to follow every detail. You can let the story become a background glow while your breath becomes the main focus. Inhale, slow and easy. Exhale, long and gentle. Feel how the exhale loosens you, like a knot untying itself without being pulled. Feel how the bed holds you, steady, quiet, patient. Feel how the room around you becomes less important, like scenery fading behind closed eyes. The tundra doesn't ask you to stay alert. It doesn't demand that you keep watch. It offers a different kind of safety, the safety of stillness, of routine, of quiet repetition. So let the night become a blanket. Let it cover the busy edges of your thoughts. Let it soften the sharp corners of the day. If you notice your mind trying to plan, you can gently redirect it back to something simple. The fox curled in snow, the wind smoothing the surface, the moonlight resting softly on everything. Inhale, exhale, and drift down, one breath at a time, into a quieter place where nothing needs your attention, and everything is allowed to be slow. We don't need big conclusions tonight. The tundra isn't a place for speeches. It's a place for small truths, quiet ones, the kind you feel more than you think. The Arctic fox has shown us a handful of gentle truths simply by existing. Warmth matters, shelter matters, rhythm matters, and rest is not something you earn. It's something you return to. In a wide place like the Arctic, the fox doesn't try to own the landscape. It doesn't try to control the weather. It simply learns the soft pockets of shelter, the familiar routes, the calm routines that make the world feel livable. And that feels like a quiet answer to our question. How does a small creature learn to feel at home in a place so big? By building home out of small, repeatable comforts. Soft humor, almost inaudible. Also, by being extremely fluffy. Fluffiness seems helpful, possibly underrated. Now, let those truths land gently in you, not as lessons to remember, but as softness to feel. You don't have to hold them in your mind. You can let them sink into your body, like warmth sinking into hands. Inhale, exhale. Notice how your breath keeps returning without being told. That's rhythm. Notice how your eyelids want to lower. That's your body choosing rest. Notice how your muscles soften when you stop checking them. That's your nervous system remembering it's safe. Outside, in our imagined tundra, the wind grows quieter, the snow seems smoother, night animals move like shadows, gentle and unhurried. The fox remains curled, breathing steadily, wrapped in its own warmth. And you can do the same, wrapped in blanket warmth, held by the bed, supported by the simple fact that you are allowed to sleep. If your thoughts try to rise again, you can let them rise like mist and then dissolve. No wrestling, no chasing, just soft release. Inhale, like drawing calm inward. Exhale, like letting everything extra drift away. Tonight, the conclusion is simple. You belong to rest the way the fox belongs to the tundra, quietly, naturally, without needing permission from anyone else. And as your breathing continues its gentle tide, you can feel yourself drifting closer to sleep. Closer, softer, slower. Now we move into the deepest quiet of the story. Not a dramatic deep, just a gentle one, like sinking into a pillow. Imagine the tundra in its most settled state. The wind has eased into a low hush, like it's tired too. The snow lies smooth with only faint textures where earlier breezes left their signatures. If there's water nearby, under ice or between snowbanks, it feels still, patient, like a mirror that has decided to rest. The Arctic fox is quiet in the scene, not absent, just restful. Its small body is gathered into warmth. Its breathing is steady. Its fur holds the cold at bay, and the world around it seems content to let it be. This is the kind of stillness that invites your mind to stop reaching outward. The story doesn't need you to follow it anymore. It can carry itself, and you can simply float. Soft humor, very minimal. Even the stones seem relaxed. They've had practice. Let your breath become the simplest thing in the world. Inhale, exhale. If you want, imagine each exhale smoothing the snow inside your mind, flattening little ridges of worry, softening sharp thoughts into gentle shapes. Your body knows how to settle. Your nervous system knows how to quiet. You don't need to instruct it too much. You only need to stop interrupting it with effort. So allow your face to soften. Allow your tongue to rest. Allow your shoulders to sink. Allow your hands to be heavy. Inhale, slow and warm. Exhale, long and cool. The tundra continues its calm rhythm. The sky dim, the land pale, the world wide and safe in its quiet. The fox remains curled, a small warm point in a large, gentle space. And you, here in your own safe place, can mirror that. Small, warm, supported. You don't need to become larger than life tonight. You only need to become quieter than thought. The story is fading now, like moonlight behind clouds. The details blur in a pleasant way. The only thing that stays clear is the feeling. Softness, safety, rest. And as that feeling holds you, sleep can arrive without ceremony, like snow settling, like wind easing, like the night doing what it has always done. Now we enter the last stretch, the part of the story that doesn't try to teach, doesn't try to explain. It simply repeats gentle motifs, the way waves repeat their sound, the way breath repeats its motion. Snow, breath, wind, quiet. Imagine the tundra again, but softer now, slightly out of focus. The moonlight is dimmer, as if it's closing its eyes. The snowdrifts look like smooth blankets laid across the land. The Arctic fox is a small, curled shape, almost indistinguishable from the whiteness, except for the steady sense of life. Warm, calm, present. Inhale, exhale. Snow falls lightly in your imagination, not to cover anything urgently, but to settle everything into softness. Each tiny flake lands like a gentle hush. The wind moves slowly, like it's careful not to wake anyone. The world feels safe enough to be quiet, micro-humor, lullaby level. Even the tundra seems to be whispering, "Shh, we're all in cozy mode." Let your attention drift. You don't have to hold the fox sharply in your mind. You can let it become a comforting shape, a symbol, a soft thought that fades at the edges. Inhale, exhale. If you notice the day trying to return, emails, errands, plans, let them pass by like distant clouds. They don't belong in this tundra night. They can wait outside the den. Your bed holds you the way snow holds the fox, gently, evenly, without judgment. Your blanket holds warmth the way fur holds warmth, quietly, reliably. Your breath continues its slow tide, and your mind can ride it like a small boat drifting on still water. Inhale, slow. Exhale, slower. Snow, breath, wind, quiet. Everything becomes simpler now. Not empty, just simple. The kind of simplicity that feels like relief. And as the story repeats these gentle notes, you may find yourself slipping, without effort, into sleep. Like the fox slipping into rest. Like the tundra slipping into deeper night. Keep breathing. Keep softening. Keep drifting. The tundra feels even quieter now, as if it has wrapped itself in a deeper layer of hush. The moonlight is softer, more distant, like a lamp turned down until it becomes a glow. Snow holds the land in smooth, sleepy shapes, gentle curves, quiet ridges, and wide-open calm. Somewhere in that calm, the Arctic fox remains curled, not as a character anymore, but as a soft presence, a warm dot of life resting inside a big, quiet world. Its breath moves in and out, steady, unhurried, like the simplest music. Inhale, exhale. If you listen closely in your imagination, you might notice how the night itself seems to rock everything gently. Wind passes and then quiets. A faint creak of ice settles and then fades. The world doesn't demand attention. It simply exists, and its existence is soothing. Your body can follow that same pattern. No effort, no striving, just a slow surrender to rhythm. Inhale, like drawing in warmth. Exhale, like releasing weight. Feel the bed under you, solid, dependable, patient. Feel your blanket, soft, protective, steady. Feel the way your breathing continues without needing instructions. The body has its own quiet intelligence, like the tundra's ecosystem, balancing itself, calming itself, returning to stillness. Micro-humor, lullaby soft. If your thoughts try to start a meeting right now, you're allowed to politely decline. The tundra does not accept calendar invites. Let your jaw loosen. Let your tongue rest. Let your shoulders sink a little deeper. Inhale. Exhale. In your mind's eye, the fox's tail is wrapped close. The snow around it is smooth. The wind seems to pass by with respect, as if it knows this is a resting place. And you can feel that respect in your own space too. This moment is yours, and it is quiet. Thoughts may still float by. That's fine. Let them drift like small clouds over a wide, pale sky. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to follow their stories. You can simply watch them pass, then return to the breath. Inhale, calm. Exhale, softer. The story is becoming less like words and more like a feeling now. a feeling of being held, a feeling of safety in stillness, a feeling of belonging to the night, the way the fox belongs to the tundra. And as that feeling deepens, sleep can arrive like a gentle tide, slipping in quietly, bringing you down into rest without any need for you to do anything at all. Imagine a door, quiet, simple, and kind. Not a heavy door, not a dramatic one, just a gentle boundary between you and the outside world. Tonight, that door closes softly. The tundra remains out there, wide, pale, calm, holding moonlight and snow and the small curled Arctic fox. But you don't need to stand outside in the cold to feel the comfort of it. You can let the image become your inner den, a sheltered space in your mind where everything is dim, warm, and safe. Inhale, exhale. The den of the mind doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be silent in a strict way. It simply needs to be quiet enough, a place where the sharpness of the day becomes muffled, like wind heard from behind snow. Inside this den, you can let go of the habit of checking time, checking worries, checking what you should be doing. The den is a place where nothing needs to be monitored. Micro-humor, very soft. The den has excellent service, by the way. The service is, nothing happens. Very luxurious. Let your breathing be the only thing you follow. Inhale, slow and easy. Exhale, longer and softer. If you notice your thoughts trying to open the door again, trying to peek out at tomorrow, just let them settle back inside. You can reassure them gently. Not now. We're resting. The Arctic fox, curled in its own warmth, doesn't keep watch with tension. It rests because rest is part of living, and your body is the same. Your body knows how to fall asleep. It has done it many times before. You don't need to force it. You only need to stop asking it to stay awake. Inhale, exhale. Feel the heaviness in your limbs, pleasant, grounding. Feel the softness in your face, unclenched, smooth. Feel the space behind your eyes becoming dimmer, like lights lowering in a quiet theater. Outside, the tundra continues its slow, gentle motions. Wind passes, snow settles, moonlight fades behind thin cloud, and inside, in the den of your mind, everything becomes still. You don't have to hold on to the story anymore. You can let it slip out of your hands like sand, like snow, like a feather floating down. Inhale, calm. Exhale, release. The door is closed now, softly. The den is warm enough. The night is quiet enough. And you are safe enough to drift. Now the story becomes a gentle loop of familiar things, as if the tundra is humming the same soothing melody again and again. Wind, snow, breath, quiet. Imagine a faint stream somewhere under ice, water moving slowly, not rushing, just continuing. You can't hear it clearly, but you can sense it, like the subtle reminder that life flows even when everything looks still. The wind passes lightly over the snow, smoothing it, polishing it, turning the world into soft curves. The Arctic fox remains curled, warm, and small, a quiet point of life inside the wide white world. Inhale, exhale. Let these images repeat without effort, like counting waves, like listening to rain, like feeling the steady rise and fall of your own breath. Wind, snow, breath, quiet. If any thought tries to become loud, it can soften here. The tundra has a way of lowering volume. It doesn't argue. It just makes space, and in space, thoughts naturally lose their grip. Micro-humor, featherlight, even the snow seems to be thinking, let's keep it chill, which is technically very accurate. Inhale, slow, exhale, slower. The fox's warmth stays contained, gathered inward. The world outside stays wide, but it doesn't feel overwhelming anymore. It feels like a soft background, like a distant horizon that doesn't need anything from you. Let your mind drift the way wind drifts, present, moving, but not attached. Let your body settle the way snow settles, quietly, without trying. Let your breath flow the way water flows, steady, continuous, gentle. Inhale, exhale. The images begin to blur now, in a pleasant way. Less like watching a documentary, more like falling into a dream where the feeling is stronger than the detail. Wind, snow, breath, quiet. And as the motifs fade and repeat, you may find that you're already sleeping, or very close. The story doesn't need to escort you anymore. It can simply sit by the edge of your awareness like a small campfire, glowing softly, then dimming. Inhale, calm. Exhale, away. The tundra remains. The fox remains. And you remain, held, safe, quiet, drifting deeper into rest. The night is very soft now. The tundra is no longer a place you're watching. It's a feeling you're floating in. A wide, pale calm. A gentle hush. The kind of quiet that doesn't ask questions. Somewhere the Arctic fox is still curled, small, warm, and steady. Its breathing continues like a quiet tide. The snow around it lies smooth, like a blanket laid carefully over the land. Wind passes like a lullaby, barely touching the surface. Inhale, exhale. If you can still hear my voice clearly, let it become softer in your mind, like it's moving farther away. You don't need to hold on to the words. You can let them drift, the way snow drifts, the way clouds drift, the way sleep drifts in. Inhale, slow and warm. Exhale, long and cool. There is nothing you need to do now. Nothing to fix, nothing to plan. The day has already had its turn. Now the night is having its turn, and the night is gentle. Micro-humor, almost inaudible. Even the stones seem relaxed. They've had practice. Let your forehead smooth. Let your eyes rest behind your lids. Let your shoulders sink. Let your hands be heavy. Inhale, exhale. The tundra holds its quiet. The fox holds its warmth. And you are held too, by the bed, by the blanket, by the steady rhythm of breathing that has never asked you to earn it. Now we'll close with the final lines, unchanged, like a soft door clicking shut, like a light dimming into darkness. Everything flows through the wild. Sleep in that motion, and you can drift and drift and drift